Good evening, I'm John Arvish, and this is What I Like About Jazz. And we are back live from Studio B with Loren Stillman, Tommy Sciple, and John Wicks. Take it away, guys. Fantastic. Wow. What a tune. Loren, one of the tunes from your new album. Yes, Time and Again.
Yep. Yes.
So we're here in Studio B. This is live from Studio B on Montana Public Radio with the Loren Stillman Trio. And we have a chance to showcase some of the tunes on your new album, Loren, Time and Again, on Sunnyside Records.
Yep, just came
It's
out.
been a while.
Well, at least since the summer. Yeah.
Yes.
Or no, sorry, last October, about a year
Yeah,
probably.
it's been about a year
Yeah,
since we were
sorry.
broadcasting from the library.
Yeah.
A fantastic concert with Mark Ferber and Bob Bowman.
Yep.
So it's great to have you back in the studio this time.
Yeah, it's great. We've been talking about doing this for a while, so I'm glad it actually is happening and came together quite quickly about last week.
Easily though, right?
Easily, yeah, easily.
We have some great people here at the station doing engineering and getting things set up and just kind of pulled it together. So
Totally, yeah.
So we have Tommy Sciple also on bass and John Wicks on the drums. And you guys have a concert tomorrow night also showcasing this new album and some new tunes at the Zac in Missoula. If you're in Missoula or around Missoula or anywhere nearby, you absolutely need to be there. You can get tickets at the Zac Zootown Arts Community Center. They're online. They're on Facebook. Loren, you have a post on your site as well, or on your Facebook page at least.
Yep, my website, Facebook page, Instagram. I don't do TikTok, but I think that covers my bases.
Nice. Well, it's really great to have you guys
the
here.
40 and above.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I fit there somewhere. Yes. Well, it's great to have you guys here. Let's hear some more music, and then we'll chat a little bit more.
Absolutely.
So, Loren, tell us about that tune.
Let me catch my breath.
Yes. Wow.
Give me a minute here, John. Jeez. You ever played one of these things before?
I have not. Definitely not.
Okay, yeah, that's a song called Unsung, and I was going through a pretty heavy stage of listening to Renaissance music and Renaissance composers.
Okay.
And two that really struck me were Thomas Tallis and Thomas Tallis was really kind of a big unit for me, and so I was sort of writing in the vein of Thomas Tallis, or trying to.
16th century?
And Palestrina, and
Okay.
yeah, 1500s.
Yeah, 16th century.
Yeah, 16th century. So, yeah, this is sort of like an homage to kind of that style of counterpoint, even though maybe it doesn't quite sound that way. Theoretically, I could put everybody to sleep, but you know, there's a lot about that music, the Renaissance music, that was so appealing to me in terms of things not really being locked in harmonically yet.
Right.
Stylistically in the music, which I think is so cool. It's like a lot of open sounds, a lot of open fifths, and a lot of the melodies that are used in Renaissance music kind of provide those dissonances to the consonances. So it's like, for me, it was like early jazz, you know, and
Right.
was really quite a thing to absorb and take in. So yeah, that's kind of how that came around.
Nice.
It's a
Kind of
couple
like Motorhead. Pretty simple.
Right. Sure.
We call that one the power ballad, actually. Yeah.
Motorhead in the Renaissance.
Yeah.
So there's something else really unique about your new album and kind of your new direction. People who've listened to you for a long time, whether you're playing with Carla Bley or Charlie Hayden or your own albums, are used to hearing you on the alto.
Yeah.
And what brought about the change? So your new album is a feature for tenor, and tell it what made you shift.
Well, I'd always wanted to play tenor. I didn't have one, and I was finally sort of gifted one. I made a trade with a student, and I started playing it, and it was a voice that I always wanted to incorporate. I love the soprano, I love the alto, the tenor. Not a baritone player, really. I don't think that's going to come into the fold. But I've always wanted to adapt this concept of thinking about the three instruments as one instrument that we can
A big range
think about
across.
one. Yeah, we can think about one range rather than it being tenor, alto, soprano, but rather like if you had one mega horn, you know, that could fulfill all three of those voices. So that's sort of my next boundary or landmark, I would say, is trying to get the three to play nicely with each other in composition and improvisation. Okay. So this is sort of a bridge to that place, and I just thought, okay, I really got to spend as much time with the tenor as I had with the alto, and it's just finally starting to feel like it's part of my voice and vocabulary. And it's inspired a lot of new things on the alto, and the alto has inspired a lot of new things, on the tenor. And it's interesting how that's happening. And I needed, for the alto, I just needed some new blood, something to kick it into a different direction that I wasn't able to do on my own without the tenor. So
It's interesting as a listener, listening to you for a number of years on record in person. I've always felt like you play the alto more like a tenor.
That's how
Your
felt.
sound on the alto is closer to a tenor sound.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to just see that transition. That voice is already kind of
Astute
there.
observation. Yeah, that's how I always felt. I always felt like a tenor player playing alto. And then when I got the tenor, I was like, let's try tenor on tenor this time, and see what.
Right.
Of course, on alto, there's the obvious influences of, I really liked Lee Konitz quite a bit, and
Right.
coming from that direction. And I guess when I picked up the tenor, I was hearing like a little bit more Warren Marshy kind of
Right.
stuff, just because that's what my ear heard. Yeah, it's hard not to gravitate towards your influences,
Yes. Yes. It's interesting. This configuration is not as common because we're missing a chordal instrument. We don't have a guitar or a piano or something else. So a horn and rhythm gives a lot more freedom. And I think about a couple of classic albums, and you mentioned Lee Konitz. So like Lee Konitz's Motion album with just bass and drums. I think of, Sonny Rollins live at the Village Vanguard with just bass and drums.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more freedom there that you don't always have when you're playing in a quartet or a quintet, or you don't have another horn breaking things up. You don't have that other corded instrument.
Yeah.
So what led you there?
Exactly the things you just said. Well, so many years of playing with chordal instruments. My last band had organ and guitar.
Right. Gary
which was
Versace and
beautiful coloristically. But yeah, just moving away from the idea of the stacked harmony as being the harmonic function. And what's nice about the relationship between the saxophone and the bass is that you do get this counterpoint relationship between single note instruments, which I really enjoy, and writing composition that way. I enjoy the relationship between two notes, sometimes more so than the relationship between 10 notes, and it's sort of a pickier and a choosier way of navigating composition, because you don't have a lot of options. You have to pick the right notes, really be, that every note really counts, and every note is so super important in terms of guiding and leading the harmony. This specific song, Unsung, is a bit of a challenge to play because there's sort of like three different tonal centers that are happening at the same time within the piece. And so it might be beneficial to actually have a chordal player on this song. I've never actually heard it with a chordal player, but it's hard to hear some of these other harmonies that are happening within the piece because we don't have the chords. So then that becomes a sort of a challenge on my part as a saxophone player to counter what Tommy is doing with the roots and the bass, to provide and to fill in that other harmonic aspect of the song. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the real challenge of this playing in this context,
Right. Well, we are live from Studio B. It's What I Like About Jazz, and we're here with Loren Stillman on tenor saxophone, Tommy Sciple on the bass, and John Wicks on the drums. Let's hear some more music. Oh, what a tune. Foist, another tune from the new album, yes?
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Very nice. So, Tommy, you were holding down the bass chair over there.
Yes, yeah.
Chair's not the right word, but you're standing with your bass over there. What's it like playing in this kind of configuration?
Well, for one, I mean, playing sort of more straight ahead harmony in this configuration, I'm kind of used to, and my ears are kind of wrapped around that, and this is a lot more challenging to try to bring out the harmony, and then having the parameters be so wide. I mean, not necessarily on the last tune, but the other two be so wide as to have a lot of choices to make in the moment, you know. Right. I can kind of, I don't have, you know, I'm still providing my role and trying to play a lot of roots and outline chords and things, but in terms of rhythm, I have a lot more leeway to interact.
Right. You're not just walking a bass line in this situation at all.
Yeah.
It's a mix of rhythm and melody or counter melody. That it's really interesting and really nice to listen to. John, one of the things I think is really important to point out to our listeners is that all three of you are not only performers and composers, but you're educators. What's it like to be able to be here and doing this kind of thing, and also be teaching?
It's actually the perfect balance, to be honest. I'm really fortunate to teach here at University of Montana, and I've been living essentially in a tour bus and in airports for the last 14 years, and to be able to be in one place and be able to practice again, this instrument is really important, and that's one of the main reasons I'm not on the road anymore. And the students here, being able to teach them is actually, not exactly a selfless endeavor. It's actually more of a selfish endeavor, because I get more excited to go practice after, I can be here teaching for 8 hours during the day, and then as soon as I get home, I just want to go practice, just because they fuel that enthusiasm that they have is kind of a big reminder of what I was lacking, just having to grind it out on the road for that many years, So it's nice. It feels like coming home again.
Nice. Loren, it's great to have you back in Missoula. You were gone for a little while and came back, and you're still out on the road a little bit.
Yep.
You were just in Europe for a little while, right?
I was, for about 19 days, and after about 7 of those days, I was like, okay.
Back home to
Time
Missoula.
to go home. Yeah, having kids definitely changes your perspective on these things. Having a family and whatnot. Wouldn't have seen that coming when I was in my 20s. That's for sure.
Right. So when you're touring like that, are you taking people with you? Are you playing with local people there?
I've been going to Europe for so long now that I sort of have like an infrastructure of musicians over there that I like to play with. Things have definitely changed in the European jazz scene. It turns out that they have jazz musicians over there that are equally as good as jazz musicians over here. So, the days of like the Keith Jarretts and whatnot being sort of worshipped in the European jazz scene it's a little bit over in that regard, and Americans I think are less touted and sought after, and I think the money has shrunk as well. So I mean, I go over a lot and set things up with people that I know are have established relationships with, and schools as well,
Right.
And
You were in Graz for a while, right?
I was in Graz, yeah, Vienna, teaching in Vienna and Graz and Antwerp and Brussels, yeah, just a Cologne,
Okay.
yeah, all over the map, yeah.
So you have some connections there through teaching as well.
Yeah. Most of the conservatories over there, yeah, keep inviting me back for some reason. So, but yeah, it's fun, And that last travel was pretty brutal. Actually, it was like every day, many hours on the train or plane, and then doing a full load of teaching all day, and then maybe a gig at night, and it was it was tough.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
Well, again, you guys, it is so fantastic to have you here, and what a great sound. That you're all very experienced musicians, and it shows in what we hear, it shows in what we see, and I appreciate it. And I love to be able to share this. So tell us about this next tune.
This next tune was written in probably a familiar place to many people in Missoula. This is called Waterworks. So I was been doing a lot of hiking since I've lived here and enjoying this beautiful place and getting inspired musically by my walks in the woods and hikes. And I try to really, when I'm alone in the woods and have time to concentrate and think about melodies and think about new songs, a lot comes out, and so this happened to come out on Waterworks, and I sang it into my phone, and then later on wrote it out on paper. But this has happened several times, so I'm starting to think like maybe there's a theme here, there's a theme project in the works.
Yes.
But yeah, it's giving me new inspiration that I wasn't getting in the big cities anymore,
Right.
Different kind of thing.
Well, we are live from Studio B on Montana Public Radio. Take it away. Fantastic. Waterworks. We're here live from Studio B with Loren Stillman, Tommy Sciple, and John Wicks. There's a new album from Loren Stillman, Time and Again, on Sunnyside Records. And you can see these guys playing at the ZAC tomorrow night. You can get tickets online at Zootown Arts Community Center. They have a Facebook page. Loren has a Facebook page, web page, several different ways to get this. How do we get this album, Loren?
On the internet. So you can buy it as a CD, and you can buy it as a CD and a download. I think you pay a little extra to have both. I recommend getting both. I recommend buying the record and not streaming it on Spotify if you can help it. We love our subscription services. They do not love musicians, unfortunately, and we've all seen our royalty checks plummet. So you can go to Bandcamp, and Bandcamp is like the new retailer for CDs and online music sales, and it's a great service. They treat musicians very well. It's become a new thing, and a lot of people like it, including myself. They have these things called Bandcamp Fridays, where they give 100% of the sales to musicians. Right. Otherwise, it's like 70% of the sales, which is better than any other game in town. So it's Bandcamp, and if you go to www.bandcamp.com and look for Sunnyside Records, I'll be staring you in the face.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm still a physical media guy.
I am
hold
too.
it, and I want to read liner notes and see who the engineer was.
I love it.
I love album covers.
I know.
Yes. This is What I Like About Jazz. I'm John Arvish, and again, such a privilege to have you guys in here tonight. This is such a high caliber of musicianship, and that's part of what I love in Missoula, Montana right now. We have an incredibly rich musical community, and that is being carried across in our music educators, in our public schools, and here at the University of Montana with the jazz program in particular that I just cannot say enough about. So thank you all. And with that, how about another tune? I think we have one more.
Yeah. I changed my mind about the next song. So this is called Fearless Dreamer.
fearless dreamer indeed. Wow. Well, once again, John Wicks on the drums, Tommy Sciple on bass, and Loren Stillman on tenor saxophone. It has been such a privilege to have you in the studio today. It's great to have you here, and I look forward to hearing and seeing you more.
It's been absolutely our pleasure to be here, and thanks for the invitation. Anytime.
Absolutely. Okay. This has been a live broadcast from the MTPR studios on the University of Montana, Missoula campus. Our live session was mixed by Jake Birch with technical assistance from Jake Williams, Aidan McMahon, and Emma Bucher. Brian Ramirez on the board in master control, and thanks to our program director, Michael Marsalik. This has been another in our music series live from Studio B. I'm John Arvish. Thanks for listening.